So we're still not letting them go in there.
Mm-mm.
How's it look?
It's pretty good. It's okay.
Mhm. Let me know when you.
Okay.
Okay. Give it like a minute.
Okay.
You're at 13.
Okay. What time is it? 5 o'clock? 2 o'clock?
14. All right, 15. Damn.
It's pretty good. Yes, indeed. Okay. Let him in.
All right.
Recording and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you, whoever that is?
This is Marshall Farron. How are you?
I'm excellent, Marshall Farron. This is Kerry Westbrook. Pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you, Kerry. You've been in dispatches for many times over the last months.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I'm going to get everyone's name and information, and we're going to have a grand time here for a few minutes, and then we will proceed. But
All right, sounds good.
Let's give it about 5 more minutes or 3 to 4 minutes to let the other stragglers come in, sort of.
Hey,
Hi.
Yes, indeed. Hello.
I didn't get home yet to get a blue background, but I'm trying to find an interesting background here.
No worries. It appears that you're in the real world from what I'm seeing there.
IRL, yeah.
Touche.
Should I go home to get a real background or?
No, I think you should go ahead with the real person vibe and just be in the real world for today.
Look at, yeah, because I'm right here by a convent.
Yes.
And where a rock lived.
I understand. A little secret about me. I don't generally walk around with film reels around me. So this is a surprise for me as well. Wow, it's a lot of people here today.
Okay.
All right, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for coming, everyone.
Be well. Good to see you.
It's a little Neo Noir humor there. All right, everyone's here. I think we're going to go ahead and get started. Here's what we're going to do, people. First of all, I want to say welcome to the interviews for the LA Neo Noir Novel Film and Script Online Festival. Woo-hoo!
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, I can feel the love. I can feel the energy. We want to, first of all, thank our sponsors, the great Haunt LA Ghost Tours, for promoting our projects and helping to promote this and fund this. We thank you, Haunt LA. If you want to get a really haunting ghost tour through Los Angeles, visit Haunt LA and get the bejesus scared out of you. They're great people. And we also want to thank some of my technical advisors. I have the lovely Lynn, what's your name again? Liz Mendoza, ladies and gentlemen. She's here to assist us. We have, I want to thank my staff members. I want to thank my Bichon Freese, who's no longer with me, Ritz. Thank you in heaven, wherever you are, Ritz, in San Francisco. Wherever dogs go to heaven, I hope he's happy there. I want to thank Carol and Pearlie and a number of other people that are in my staff. And let me see. So here's what we're going to do, people. I'm going to go one by one, and I'd like for you to tell me your name, the name of your project, your capacity in the film, Are you the screenwriter, director, producer, the star? Is there just one credit and you're everybody in it and you do the catering? I want to know who you are, what your project is about, where can people reach you if they love it, what's your next project you're working on, and what is your advice to the aspiring Neo Noir creator? That's a whole mouthful.
Yes.
Just in case I forget, just do the best you can and give me some interesting stuff to know about. So we're going to start with the incredible, a person that needs no introduction, the one, the only, what you say your name? Mercy Dasan.
Yeah, Mercy Malarvari Dasan. You can call me as Mercy.
Thank you. Beautiful. Have mercy on me for not getting the name all together right. Whatever. Go right ahead, my dear.
Yeah. So, like I'm from LA and I'm a novel writer. And my project, you're able to hear me, right?
Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah. So my project name is Pixel, and it's a feel-good fantasy story with lot of twists and turns. Like even in the end, there are like lot of surprise, unexpected, pleasant surprise elements which has been kept over there, and it's about a cute little piglet who gets adopted by a human family, and though that he through this he gets an opportunity to live a life along with his human sibling Jose and with his mom Martha. And, he gets a lot of love and affection from his mom. And being a, like a piggy boy, this kid is very, very curious about everything. And he wanted to do everything, whatever his brother, his sibling is trying it out, right? So he considers himself as like, very much privileged son for his mom. And he is like very much committed to the family. Also, like, this particular person, Piggy, he is actually has got like a lot of goals for his, in his life and stuff like that. And being a piggy boy, he has got a lot of challenges, with his fur body and, with the animal kind of a stuff. So, the story is all about like overcoming a lot of challenges and then like how he moves forward to achieve whatever he wants. So it's all about the attitude and, right attitude and the goal. And if somebody has got that and, no one will dare to stop you. So that's the motto of it. Yeah.
Beautiful. It's a feel-good story about self-determination, it sounds like. When this came across my desk, I knew it wasn't necessarily in the neo-noir category, but I knew it was in a sense of empowerment. I knew it was helmed by a female director and a female writer, and I knew that we needed that voice involved in our neo-noir community. I like the family aspect of it and the rising above all odds aspect of the story. What is it about this story, would you say, Mercy, that appeals to the universal family? What was the overall message you were trying to get across with this movie?
Yeah, so the main thing over here is like as humans, we have a lot of privileges which we are enjoying in our day-to-day life. That becomes our very, very basic. For example, it could be the hands, whatever we have, we are able to build, comfort life and stuff like that. Though the universe is a common platform for all the animals, birds, insects, but still we are actually speaking, we are privileged when, when we see the life of, Pigsu, the little piglet, we'll be able to understand how he is having a lot of challenges, but those are just like very simple, basic needs for us, right? So with this kind of, with this kind of body or whatever we have, we should be able to achieve a lot. So that's the, the positive message from this particular story. It will be really a motivational, feel-good story.
I see. Hang around, Mercy. We're going to get back to you. Thank you for that lovely insight. We have a few more questions for you later, but we'll come back to you in a moment. I'm gonna move over to Prithvi.
Yeah.
Help me out here. Okay. Hey, You made it sound so easy. So we're going to go with your answer.
Yeah, I've been practicing it for the last 26 years, so I
There
know.
you go.
Yeah,
Touche.
yeah.
Touche.
Yeah.
Tell us, Prithvi, what is your story about, and give us a rundown on it. Oh, before we get to you, one moment, please. Mercy, where can people reach you if they want to get some more work from you?
Yeah, so they can reach out to me in my Gmail ID. It is mercymallarvery.dasan@gmail.com, or I have an Instagram page which is life_quotes_learnings. People can reach out to me in both ways.
Thank you very much, Mercy.
Yeah.
Now let's get back to the main event right here. We're talking with Mr. Prithvi. Tell us, sir, tell us about your project and give us some information on it.
So I worked on a project called Who Knows with Brandon Rosso, who's also present here. I would let him describe the project because he wrote it, he directed it. I was the director of photography on that project.
Okay.
So if you have any specific questions with like cinematography, I would like to answer that. But I would let him answer questions about the story, how he wrote it. Was he inspired by something? I would let him just answer those questions.
Touche.
But, yeah,
well,
go for it.
let's get Brandon. Is Brandon on the line?
Hi, I'm here.
All right, Brandon. We're going to come back to you, Prithvi, but let's hear from Brandon about this story. Talk to us, Brandon.
Hi, my name is Brandon Rosso. My short film, Who Knows, was officially selected to a festival. And I'm a writer director of it. The movie, it's a mystery thriller about a house painter living a normal life, but when a mysterious mail carrier discovers about the life he once had, he investigates and tries to figure out who knows his deadly secret before his past sins return to him and the truth comes out about him. So that's my movie, really.
That's the main gist of it.
Like the synopsis, yeah.
Brandon, this sounds like a neo-noir thriller or something in the mystery realm. Do you think there's a place for this style and this genre of filmmaking at this day and time with such AI and Avengers movies and what's the thing me and you saw? Super Mario Brothers. There's a lot of Super Mario, Donkey Kong, and things of that nature. Where is the place for neo-noir mystery and crime things? Do people want to hear that type of stuff anymore? What's your take on that, Brandon?
I think there's room for neo-noir mystery, and I think it's a genre that people are really interested in and they really connect to, and like they enjoy like the thrill of the neo-noir thrillers. And I think that's why I wanted to write a neo-noir thriller, because I just really connect to the story of writing them.
In addition to that, Prithvi, was there any special task for you as a cinematographer to come up with neo-noir images, or did you just say to hell with it, I'm just going to shoot this anyway I feel like it? Or what possessed you? Did you have any influences of neo-noir with your filmmaking or cinematography with this? Speak to us about the cinematography aspect of it, Prithvi.
So I got onto this project, I would say really late, as I would like to get on a project, but because I think there was a different DP before me on the project, but I just got the opportunity to work with him on this script. But before Brandon came up to me and he's like, "Oh, I have this project I've already shot, but I don't like how it's shot. So, and I've seen your work and I really like it. So, would you be willing to just jump on board and help me get the remaining of the scenes and let's just get it done?" That's how I got in touch with him. So I didn't get as much time, I would say, as I would like to for like just preparing like a lookbook or everything. But I have worked on a couple of these as you would call it, neo noir, or like films with which has like visuals which has a lot to do with dark, like nice rich blacks. So I would say, like, if anyone's looking to DP or photograph a neo noir, the only thing is, like, you should stop just being afraid of the blacks in the camera and what you're getting. As we all saw, the latest Batman was full of these rich blacks, and it still had details, but like it's not like you need to have details everywhere. Then I saw this film called Barbarian, which had like again rich blacks, and they were not afraid of these huge cinema screens filled with just blacks and like minute details. So I would just say that don't be scared of the blacks, get them right. I mean, I would also not say that don't get the details in them. We have such great modern technology with like false color and everything that we can see that if you're getting the details in them or not. It's better to have just rich blacks, but not no noise, I would say. But there's a thin line between that, and you just learn along with that. Yeah, use colors, throw a lot of colors if you're doing black and white, complementary colors. Just go on that wheel and just go wild, I would say. Don't be afraid of that. Don't be afraid of the blacks. Yeah, just get what you want. Take inspiration from everywhere, I would say. I took a lot of inspiration from paintings, I would say. Um,
I
any
see.
chiaroscuro style. I am a huge fan of Edward Hopper, his framing, his voyeuristic framing, how he just frames everything. You can understand. You spend some time looking at that painting, and you can get so much out of it. Um, yeah, that's what my inspiration comes from. And every time I'm scrolling Instagram, I just keep saving everything I see. People I know, people I don't know, paintings. I just keep saving them. And then that's I go back to them when I have a project, and I know exactly what I'm looking for, and I just take that out. I go to the director and be like, hey, this is what is there in my mind. Do you like it? Do you not like it?
Thank
Um,
you.
and I create like a Mila note, and then I just send it to them. I'm like, if you like something, just add it to that. It'll give me a better idea of what you have in your mind.
Thanks,
And
Prithvi.
then I can help you achieve that. Yeah.
I want to share that with everybody. If I had $1 for every time I told people, don't be afraid of the blacks, especially the rich blacks, to support
Yeah.
them. I support them as well, Prithvi. We're going to move back to Brandon. Let me ask you, Brandon, how can people reach you if they want some more of this good neo noir suspense that you're doing?
You could contact me on my Instagram, Mysterious Q Productions, or my email, brosofilm@gmail.com.
Thank you very much, Brandon and Prithvi. If you want to hang around a while, we'll have some more questions for you in a moment. But now we're going to go to the gentleman I saw meditating there a moment ago, Mr. Daniel Laurent, please, ladies and gentlemen. Daniel, how are you? Daniel Laurent.
I had to unmute. How are you,
Okay.
everyone? Thank you for having me. And you pronounced my name correctly. Most people say Laurent.
Mm.
But it's Daniel Laurent. So thank you. So I am the writer, producer, co-director, star, and funder of Cry for Me. And it's a short film, 20 minutes and 1 second. And it's a film about domestic violence and sexual abuse. And I wrote it based off a couple of tragedies that happened, close to home, and I just kind of felt hopeless and that I couldn't do anything. And so, being an artist, I said, let me use art to try to do something. And so the goal, the film is basically is myself and my wife. It's a exchange that we're having. And the music video, so the film obviously is not available online because of the film festivals and following policies and guidelines. But the music video is online. If you go on YouTube or if you search "Cry for Me," Daniel Laurent, the music video pops up, and it's a very short version of the film. And basically, there's a interaction that happens. It's a misunderstanding from my part. I'm projecting onto her. It all escalates, and you don't see any violence. And I wrote it intentionally not to have any kind of gratuitous violence to women because we've already seen that before. And I just felt it would be more powerful to just use your imagination, a la, Hitchcock and things like that. And so, it spirals or spirals, and I wanted to write it where it's something small that snowballs, what oftentimes happens. And so I feel like I encompass not only because when people think of domestic violence or sexual abuse, domestic violence, they think of just physical and a punching, but it's so many other things. It's coercive control. It's going through your mail. It's depleting bank accounts. It's isolating you from family. It's emotional abuse. It's so many different things. I feel like I encapsulated everything into one, pill. Um, And, you know, I wrote it where there's a victor at the end of it, because oftentimes in real life, it's not a victor. And so I wanted to do this as a man, as a Black man in particular. A lot of spaces that I'm in, it's a lot of victims turned survivors talking to each other. And so you don't see a lot of men in that room, and you certainly don't see a lot of Black men in that room. And so what I have turned my mission to with this film is to try to have course correction. And so men are abused also, obviously. So it's never to negate that. It's not at the same amount as women, and it's not reported the same. And so what I wanted to do was just use who are disproportionately impacted. And I'm intentionally talking to young men and older men about just being a little more intentional about how we treat each other and how we treat women and protect women. Um, so, you know, that's that's my spiel with Pride for me.
Daniel, hold on. Let me push back a little bit on this, and you may have articulated this, but I would hope you would articulate it a bit further with this next question. There is an old adage that says, if you can't say anything good, don't say it at all. And I'm wondering, and I just want you to answer to the best of your ability, why should people go see a movie where there's some beating in it or some abuse in it? Don't people go to the movies to feel good? What's your answer for bringing us down in this way and telling us these tough stories that we have to deal with? Why should we watch this?
Sure, and I 100% appreciate that question. I think, you know, again, I think there's all different types of artists in the world, you know, and the reality is, and to make this a very short answer, you know, I remember how I felt when Tupac was killed, right? Regardless of antics or whatever people may feel about what he was doing or whatever, like to me, he was my hero, right? And him growing up and his mother being a Black Panther and him having that in his DNA and his fiber and being for his people and wanting to speak up on issues and push back against systems. So I remember what I felt when he was killed. Fast forward as an adult, I remember what I felt like when Nipsey Hussle was murdered and all that Nipsey was trying to do in his community and helping with young people and getting them access into venture capitalism and space and all these different things. And he was murdered on the same block that he was actually trying to rehabilitate. So with my heartbreak came, what can I do intentionally? So I vowed to myself that I'm going to use art to be intentional about delivering a message. And also I offer solutions, right? So I'm not a person where it's just constantly complaining. You know, this sucks and taxes are too high and that's ridiculous. But it's a matter of like, okay, taxes are too high, but if you allocate them to this, then we will feel better about paying these taxes. And so I think the way I wrote the story and the situation that occurs, and if you see the music video, you'll see it. But you know, it's not a spoiler, but whatever. But basically, my wife and I are listening to headphones. We're listening to music, having a moment, and being very playful. She gets a phone call. She takes the headphones off and she says, "Hello, let me call you right back." Right now, that could be alluded to maybe she's messing around on me, right? But I didn't make that clear in the story. But then with my insecurities and my possible actions that I'm doing, I'm projecting onto her that she's messing around on me, which then changes my mood. So then she tries to get back into the mood and I'm not interested now. And then, you know, as adults, sometimes we get defensive when our pleasantries aren't responded to. So then from that little thing, everything spirals, right? And so I wanted to just show that something so small, because it's not a matter of coming to the house and punching someone in the face, right? It usually starts very small. And there's certain actions that are done that people ignore, and then it just escalates and escalates. So my goal is, again, course correct with men seeing it and seeing how heinous it is without it being super brutal. And then from the responses from women who may endured it, right, to hopefully get your healing, take the shame off of it because it's not your fault. And I'm encountering so many women that have been, you know, victims turned survivors. And so it's just something that me as a man, I want to make sure I'm doing it. Because oftentimes the story is from the victim and it's told a certain way and it's for a certain audience. So I always try to put the medicine in the candy. That's my approach for everything.
Thank you, Daniel. I'm going to come back to you, but or maybe I'll just get it over with. Now let's deal with the elephant in the room. At least it's the elephant over here where I'm standing. What do you feel? Do you feel Black artists have a responsibility to put a message in their art, or can we just make a movie that's a stupid movie, that's a silly movie? I'm trying to think of one, or maybe a Black Weekend at Bernie's or something like that.
Well, I mean,
What's your view?
Well, I mean, you have Soul Plane and you have Baps and you have Woo and you have, there's a good chunk of movies. What I will say to your point to answer the question, I'll be as succinct as possible. I think that is definitely, the term that we definitely are saying a lot, right? All Black people aren't monolithic, right? And yes, that's true. But I'm actually to the point now where maybe we should be a little more. And what I mean by that is being on code. And so for certain things, whether it's someone that's disrespecting our community and they're a business owner and we don't talk with our dollars and don't support that business anymore, just like other communities do. Like what I'm looking at is what, friends of mine in the Asian community, how they have been self-sufficient and they're not asking and begging people to help them. They are doing it themselves. They have infrastructures in place, their own banking systems. As far as even, participating in the voting system for all of them, actually, they don't, right? And it just is what it is. I think as artists, again, there's different type of artists, and you can be people who want to just kind of entertain, and that's fine too. But for me, and I take the quote from Gandhi, I want to be the change that I want to see in the world. And so my English teacher, who's a mentor of mine, he said to me when I was 14, a true artist paints a picture of a better world. So, yes, there may be syringes and crack vials on a corner when you walk outside. However, that doesn't have to consume your music, right? And just like there's so many over sexual artists right now with music, which I appreciate, but there's no balance. So where's the people who are not so sexual and don't want to show every orifice and every crevice of their body, right? So I think that there should just be a little balance. And so instead of me complaining about it and being bitter, I want to spend time being better. And me doing this film and incorporating hip hop music into it, right? And even me with my line Black Dollar, right? So that's my company, which is a whole other thing, but it's all about intentionality. So that's my answer. I try to be a little short-winded, but sorry.
Daniel, no worries. Where can we reach you if we want some good more of this pro-Black material?
So DanielLaurent.com, DanielLaurent. That's my website. I'm on Instagram, Daniel Laurent SME. BlackDollarUS.com, that's the website. Or you can go on YouTube, Cry for Me. If you put in Cry for Me, Daniel, it comes up. If you just put Cry for Me, there's a bunch of Asian music that comes up. So I'm not sure what the correlation with Cry for Me is. And also I have a podcast every week with my wife, Wedlocked and Loaded podcast. It comes out every Wednesday. We're on like 84 episodes. The most recent one was about we did our comparison with Jada and Will, and even though everyone's exhausted talking about that, we put a different spin on it.
All right, Daniel, hang out for a moment. I hope you don't have anywhere to go. We have some more questions later on for you. In fact, I myself, you and Prithi, we're going to talk about a podcast called Don't Be Afraid of the Blacks. We're going to do that later on. But before we get to that, we want to go to the whitest guy I know, the writer of Consequence of John Doe, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Brett Barton. Brett, speak to us about your project.
Hi, folks. Hi, I'm actually calling from Sydney, Australia. So it's Sunday morning right here. So I'm just trying to wake up with a couple of espressos at the moment. So hear me out. So yes, I'm the writer, producer, director of The Consequence of John Doe. And it's basically about a desperate criminal, forced to relive his murderous past in the hope to altering the outcome. So it's very much like a a David Lynchian-like mystery thriller
Hmm.
with overtones like from the original, like Rod Serling's Twilight Zone. So it's got like alternate worlds in there, in the dark Neo Noir world, as well as the colorful world of Beyond as well. So yeah, it's lots of different things to unpack in that film. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with it, actually.
Yes. Now, let me ask you, Brett, is there, I notice a lot from Australia, there's a lot of, the things that I remember are the Mad Max movies, the Crocodile Dundee movie. There's a lot of action, there's a lot of wasteland taking place. Do you feel comfortable going out of the norm of that, or do you feel a connection to those types of movies when you make movies? Does your movie have to have an Australian impact on it for it to be a good movie? Talk to us about your obligation to the Australian culture of filmmaking. Tell us about that.
Well, I'm a fan of the Ozploitation films from the 70s and 80s. And that's very much an Australian sort of genre. Yeah, utilizing the Australian culture and the landscape and that type of thing. But we're very multicultural. We're very much like, you know, American in that respect, and a lot of Western countries, obviously. But I mean, the film I'm working on at the moment now, this is very much in its infancy at the moment, is very much based, or it's like a Japanese Australian cast I'm looking at, and that's about about a sister who's of a murdered twin, and she's forced to take vengeance on her killers through this mystical, traditional Japanese tattoo. And it's based in Japanese mythology, and it's like a yokai, so it's supernatural sort of story, and taking vengeance on her killers through this traditional Japanese tattoo that she's got on her back. She's forced to do that. So it's very much a supernatural type of thing too. So, I mean, it's not your typical Australian type, storyline, obviously, but there is Australianness to it, and that would be through those characters and the way they talk, as well as the landscape as well, and the city urban scape. So that will be done in a very neo noir sort of way as well.
Let me ask you, Brett, that new project that you're working on, is there a female protagonist in that? Did you say, or did I hear that incorrectly?
Yeah, female protagonist. Yeah, it's got to be a twin.
Okay.
So it should be Japanese Australian. So she'll be playing dual roles. Obviously.
I see. Let me ask you this, Brett. Now, I'm going to be a little forward in this, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but you appear to be a man. Is that correct?
Okay. Well, I knew this question would be coming as well, but I mean, who else is going to do it? We're going to wait around for someone who's of Japanese or Asian descent to do it?
Yes.
I mean, I'm telling a story. It doesn't matter who tells the story. It's as long as you've covered, is there any sort of, cultural aspects in it? At least you've ticked that box, you've done it the way that and she'll have input as well, So it's not just coming from me. She'll have a lot of input in the way it's directed and the way that the story is going to be evolved, and that'll be fantastic. So that will just make it a lot more truer to the story, if having that input from her. So it's a collaborative effort, like every film production. So.
Now, say that again, Brett. You keep mentioning her. Who is the female that's involved in this?
Oh, I haven't cast that yet. No, it's very much in its infancy stage at this stage.
I see.
So,
because
it should be like a proof of concept. It would be another short film, but hopefully it will be a feature, soon enough. Hopefully.
What I'm trying to get at, Brett, is how do you get an authentic female character? What do you do so that it's not just a guy writing it, or maybe that's what you want? But tell me, how does a man get across a exciting, great female character without people going, "Oh, this is some bull crap," whatever they say in Australia for bull crap, bullshit. But how do you make it authentic, and how do you make it, I don't know, attainable and palpable to the female audience?
Well, just research and being around females, obviously, and to tell them it's also to do with the casting as well. What do they bring to that character? But in the writing perspectives, yeah, you need to speak through that character's voice. What would she say? You know, you got to put yourself into that person's shoes. And I think that's it. It's just making sure, what would that character say? Who is that character? What would a female character say to that? You know, and that's just talking to people, talking to collaborators, female collaborators, obviously, and also from a cultural perspective as well is important. What would they say in their language, or what would that mean in their language? You know. So,
yeah. Thank you, Brett. Brett, where can we reach you for some more of this good neo noir work that you're doing?
I could contact on Gmail. So Brett, B-R-E-T-T, Barton, B-A-R-T-O-N, 01@gmail.com.
Thank you very much, Brett. Hang out if you can for a few moments. We'll have some more questions in a moment. Before we go any further, I once again want to thank our sponsor, the wonderful Haunt Ghost Tours, ladies and gentlemen. If you want the hell spooked out of you to where you're pooping your, well, not pooping, that's too much. If you're peeing your pants or something, let's say that, okay? Let's keep it PG. Even though this is neo noir, I could really go deep and bizarre with this, but Haunt Ghost Tours. Go to see them, check them out. They're easy to find. I lead some of the tours for this October because that's the scariest year, or month, I should say. Before I go any further, who's a big neo noir fan? Raise your hand so I can see you in the chat room. Who knows their neo noir movies? Let me see a thumbs up. Okay. I see a thumbs up and going down. Keep it, put your thumb up and keep it up there, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Who is that? Amina Yendani. I think I'm going to go with her. She's the prettiest one out of all of this bunch here. So we're going to go with Amina. Okay, hi. I'm going to give you 10 seconds, and I want you to name me 4 David Lynch neo noir movies. And the clock starts now. 10. 9.
I can't.
Okay, all right. That's
Mulholland Drive. I'm not a David Lynch fan.
No worries. Hey, you got me right there. I
got it.
Okay, who's that? Drew Barrett? Hit it. 10.
Okay, Mulholland Drive, Eraserhead,
LA Confidential.
It's hard, Lost Highway. He didn't do LA Confidential.
Oh, he didn't.
Blue Velvet.
Okay, all right. You snuck that one in right in the nick of time. Okay, we're going to give you a gift card for 500 to Del Taco, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. Or Starbucks, I should say. That's more neo noir than it'll be sent in the mail. Thank you, Drew. So let's get back to our important story here, the interviews with people. There are some of you that are seen and unseen, and the gentleman that's the most unseen is a gentleman by the name of Richard Talentino, ladies and gentlemen. Richard, tell us about your project, please.
Okay. Oh, hi. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
I can. Yes.
Perfect. Okay. I created the movie, the short film Unseen, as an advocacy film at first. And then it evolves into something dark to make it biting. The reason why I said it's advocacy is because to make people aware that people with disabilities are also capable of falling in love, even though the ending could be tragic. And that is the whole gist of the movie. I don't know if I have to tell you this, the whole story of the movie, but
no, don't do that. Please
okay.
Don't do that.
All right. So yeah, it's a short film. It's a short film, 20 minutes. And then I have decided to make it long, to a full-blown 1 hour and 30 minutes movie or film. And I'm still in the editing phase of that so that I can release it. What I did in this film is to incorporate my knowledge. Oh, by the way, I'm the screenwriter, the director, and producer of this film. So what I did in this short film is to incorporate my knowledge in allied health, and at the same time my creativity in order to create something that will somehow advocate for somebody or some for people with disabilities. I don't have to tell you what the disability is, but a clue is it's a mental disorder. So and at the same time, so you have this mental disorder. At the same time, it's in the genre. Well, it's not a genre. It's in line with the captured market of LGBTQ. So put them together. It's like, okay, I have something that's good. So how do I make it interesting? So it ends up with similar to a Romeo and Juliet tragic ending. And it's in line with the Neo Noir. It's dark, but at the same time, it's erotic in a nice way.
Okay.
So, yeah. So,
Richard, as long as it's erotic in a nice way, I can deal with it. If it's in a unnice way, I don't know what you're talking about, but we'll discuss that later. But I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead with it.
Yes. I made sure that this is artistic. The movie is very artistic, and the good thing about this movie is also I gave chances to young people who have limited acting skills, and I made them act into these movies, into my short film, and I think the result is so good that I already received numerous awards for this short film. New York, LA, some different awards, just to make sure that this movie is very appealing to the public.
I see. Let me ask you, Richard.
Yeah.
What we have here, what I heard, was disabled LGBTQ nice eroticism. That's a lot going on, Richard.
Yes.
How did you research this? What inspired you to do this, Richard?
Well, I am in the special education field for quite some time. So, and at the same time, I have this tremendous knowledge in the allied health field. So I mixed it up and then created something wherein, because I myself, I am gay. So okay. I went into the LGBTQ community because it's a captured audience. There is an audience no matter what. But it's not only limited to that. Because the whole film, after you watch this short film, you will be inspired to what happened to the whole film, So I want you to get interested. Is that what it is? And then people will be asking for more. That's how I did it.
Do you think, Richard, people will see this and be inspired to be gay themselves? What do you feel that there has to be a space? I'm asking you a bunch of questions at this moment. Sorry. What do you as a gay person have an obligation to make gay films, or talk to me a little bit about the politics of this film that you're making?
Well, to be gay and at the same time with a disability is hard. It's like a double strike in your life. And I'm trying to advocate for those people who is not really being shown in the movies. We don't really see much of this. So creating something wherein people will feel I do have a part in the movie industry because there is this film being shown. I have this disability. I'm also part of the LGBTQ. So yes, I do exist. That's the point of the film that I have. Regardless of what disability you have the right to fall in love, no matter what.
Let me ask you, Richard, if we want to get some more of this good material from you, how do we reach you?
Well, it's there. c.digital@gmail.com. Can you guys see it?
Absolutely.
Yes.
And now the world can see it, Richard. I'm looking forward to going back and looking at your film. I didn't know all of that was in there. I heard so much tonight. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you.
Let me move over to the gentleman with the most Neo Noir name I've ever seen. He has a little bit of Philip Marlowe and a little bit of the Hardy Boys. I'm talking about Philip Hardy, ladies and gentlemen. Philip, take it away. Hello.
Hey, how are you? Greetings from Texas.
Thank you.
I appreciate you having me today, and I've enjoyed listening to everybody. My project, I'm a screenwriter, and this one is, this actually probably leans a little more towards classic noir. It's called A Dangerous World of Possibilities. It is a feature screenplay. It takes place in 1949. I'll lay the log line on you since I'm a writer. It's a World War II nurse wins the Silver Star, becomes a private detective, is hired by an heiress to find a missing actress connected to porno, and a mobster blackmailing a Los Angeles congressman. So I said a mouthful there in one sentence, I hope. But yeah, it's a really, I like to say it's a loving nod to Raymond Chandler, particularly. I'm a big fan of The Big Sleep and Farewell, My Lovely. And yeah, I love the neo noir detective films like L.A. Confidential, and Chinatown, of course, is gold standard. And so what I wanted to do was really capture the flavor of the late 40s in L.A. I lived in L.A. most of my life. So, you know, of course, my generation was a little bit later than the 40s. But, you know, I spent a lot of time as a nightclub musician. And so, you know, up in the Hollywood area. But obviously, I try to capture in the writing the whole vibe of 1949, post-World War II Los Angeles. And obviously, I've got gangsters and crooked politicians and femme fatales. Where I've changed it a little bit is my Philip Marlowe is a Phyllis Marlowe. Desiree Duncan's the main character, and I really wanted to flip the genre on its ass. And she does a first-person narration, which is also a classic noir trope. And towards the beginning of the movie, she's talking as she's driving through LA, and she talked about how female detectives, you know, it's as rare as being discovered at Schwab's drugstore kind of thing. So obviously in 1949, there probably weren't a lot of women doing that job, but she happens to kind of fall into it, I guess, organically. And another thing about Desiree, which makes her unique, is she's a World War II nurse that gets into a scuffle in France, and she loses an eye during a fight. And, you know, when the Germans try to come into a hospital to get morphine. So she's a one-eyed female detective on top of everything else. And so it's kind of like creates an interesting character. And I've already had some real good feedback on her being really being able to employ those tropes and not being a cliche, which I take as the highest compliment I can. So that's really what A Dangerous World is about.
Let me ask you, Philip, what comes to mind of all strange things is a concert I went to recently, a Steely Dan concert, if you're familiar with that group. Now, when I went, well, pardon me, I didn't hear.
One of my favorite bands, played a lot of Steely Dan songs in my history.
Touche. The thing that I think about, Philip, is that when I went there were just a vast sea of elderly old white gentlemen I noticed there. What would you say to an aspiring young person in high school, in the 8th grade, in the grammar school, a very young person who's interested in film noir? Is there a place for them to tell their story, or would you have any advice to them? They clearly can't go back to the 40s, or maybe they can. What would you say to a person that's young, that's youthful? I mean, I'm not saying you old either, Philip. We're both beautiful. Okay. Well, whatever you feel you are, what would you say to a person that's aspiring, that's young, that's just getting started in the neo-noir world? What would they need to tell a good story?
Really, I just read a book. It's interesting. It's called Kill the Dog, and it's kind of a controversial screenwriting book. But really, one of the smartest things that the guy just said in the book is it all begins with great writing. And a lot of, there's a lot of BS that flies around in the screenwriting world because there's a lot of people out there trying to make money off of people, aspiring screenwriters. And, again, I've done a lot in my life. I've, even research and things like that, the benefit of going to higher education, all those things. But really, there's a lot of information that's at your fingertips, even as a young person. And obviously, if you're interested in noir, it's the first thing you could do is watch noir movies. There's television stations that play them. There's tons of them on the streaming networks. I can't remember the name of my free television station, but it runs Sunday Night Noir, for example. And then the other thing is, when you're getting into screenwriting, is read scripts written by professionals. So I wanted a copy of The Big Sleep. That was the original one in 1942, I think, with Humphrey Bogart, and I got a friend to get me a copy of that. But read those scripts. Read some of the 40s ones that you like out of the past, whatever you can get a hold of. Read those scripts and study the people that did it really well. But read look at Robert Towne's Chinatown and read that script. That's a great script. LA Confidential is available. I'm sure Memento's online. So reading scripts is the best place to start. And then from there, understanding the essentials of formatting. And really, it's much simpler than people think. I mean, if you have an innate ability and a desire to write, you can probably pick up all you need to know to get started by reading some basic formatting books like the Hollywood Standard, which is by Christopher Riley. That does a lot of formatting. And then watch videos. If you're going to buy Final Draft software, for example, to start writing, watch tutorials and just get the basics, and then get in there and then outline, and away you go. That's my advice.
Philip Hardy, where can people reach you if they want some good quality neo-noir like the ones you just mentioned?
My email, and I'll post it in the thread here, is Philip with 2 L's _HRDY @yahoo.com. And I also I have a screenwriting group on Facebook called Screenwriters Talking Shop that I started back in March. And that's a real, pretty much anything goes. I don't like to censor content, so people can come and promote their work. They can ask questions. You don't have to be too cool for school. You just come in, and plus I post a lot of videos talking about different things that are happening in the market. And then I also have a film coming out early next year, a feature film called Purgatory Station, which was the director's name escapes me right now, but it's got Bob Gunn from Shawshank Redemption and a couple other guys, Sean O'Brien from Olympus Has Fallen. And it's kind of I would call that a neo-noir thriller. And so that's what's happening. You can get a hold of me at that email address, or look me up online, Philip P. Hardy, or or the group, Screenwriters Talking Shop.
Philip Hardy, stick around if you can. We're going to come right back to you. Thank you for speaking with us. Now we want to move over to a gentleman that has a saint in his name, Stuart St. Paul, ladies and gentlemen. Stuart, can you hear us?
I can. I was worried that I might not be able to be seen, but obviously you can see me.
Absolutely. Stuart, we're going to do your interview a little bit different. I want you to push back on Philip Hardy and tell me how everything he said was a bunch of crap. I want you to explain to me, with the AI that's out here and with the new kids that are out here, they don't need no freaking manuals on screenwriting and stuff. Why should they go back and look at all of that old stuff, Stuart? Do you have, or should they not? Talk to us about that.
Listen, you can look at as much stuff as you want, but if you don't get out there and get your hands dirty, you're not going to do it. You'll be a hobbyist. I'm probably saying that because I've spent 50 years in the industry, as you probably know, but the rest won't. I was working in the A-list movie industry from the age of 16, and I'm nearly 70 now. So I've had a very lucky career, an incredibly lucky career. I've got a CV which goes on for pages on IMDb. But I guess what that did for me, because I actually do think I'm an artist, not just a worker, is because I had a regular income, I could go away and make the projects I really wanted to make. I want to pick up on something I think Daniel said earlier about having your message inside the film. And somebody said some of these sort of bubblegum films, these light movies don't have messages. They do. Every film has many messages in it. But if you're really clever, they're hidden, but not hidden so deeply that you can't let them infuse. So I was lucky enough to be able to have enough money to choose to go and direct, to make a few films of my own. And the message is important. And I think when you're working on, like, I was the Queen alien for James Cameron. I was inside that, and he built that around my body. So I've had that kind of experience with great storytellers. And what you can do is then take that money and you go and develop your own stories and do your own things. And I've made some very dark pieces because I wanted to make things that mattered. So I made a film about incest within the family. I did a film on sex trafficking, which won me Best Director in Breckenridge. So, yeah, I understand what your friend is saying there by you've got to read the scripts, but I don't care how you do it. You've got to get into the industry and you've got to get your hands dirty. You've got to see how bad the scripts are when they come to us in production, how we have to pull them apart to make them work. And I think that helps you understand real format. So that all aside, and my past, how did I get into writing? Why am I here? I was blown up and nearly killed in 2014 on a set of an HBO series in Hungary. And I was suffering from really bad PTSD. I was in a terrible mental state. My wife nearly had me sanctioned. But I had some great people around me, albeit they didn't discover what was wrong with me. Come back to that in a second. But during the PTSD therapy, if any of you have had therapy, especially PTSD therapy, one of the things they want you to do is write. And write the story from your feelings, the first person story. Now, I've written all my life, I've told stories all my life, but this was really an in-depth program of writing. And that's how I started. Now, my therapist wanted me to write my career, my autobiography, and I didn't want to do that because I'm not a name. You wouldn't know who I was. I'm not going to sell books. Let's not kid each other. I know that's not going to work. So I invented a character that was similar to me called Kieran Phillips, with one L, not two, and we took him on a journey. Now, one of the things I've been asked to do, and listen, I hope everybody has a grand career and gets the chance to do these things. I get invited all over the world to talk about my career, to talk about being in the Queen Alien. I've done 3 Bond films. I was in Batman, all of that crap. So I get asked to go on cruise ships and just do a lecture for the free cruise and free drink, etc. Now, my therapist was encouraging me to go on these cruises because, and here's the key, I had to, despite the fact I'd been very injured, I was in pain and I wasn't in a good space. He wanted me to remember the good side of my working in the film industry. I had to go back and dig in and remember why I loved being in it. Now, I think that's a great message for everybody because the abuse we all take, the thick skin that you need, and the misses you're going to get thrown at you, you have to have that. You have to then look back and go, I am good. I know I'm good. I have done that, and remember those good points. So I did go on the cruise ships and I talked about my career. So I did the two and two together, and I got cruise ship and I got this crime detective, and I started writing cruise ship crime detectives. So that's where the books come from. That's where this screenplay comes from. My office was the big lounge at the front of the cruise ship. Everybody else went out and sunbathed. I wasn't allowed to because my skin was in such a place that I couldn't go in the sun for 4 years. And I wrote and wrote and wrote. Now, the other thing you got to realize about this industry is that if you want to earn a living and bring kids up and put them through school, you need product. You've got to keep pumping stuff onto the shelf. And I think working in the industry, that teaches you it. While you're working this film, you're writing that one, you're editing that one. You've got to be in 6 places. And I've now, during this time when I've been off, written 6 cruise novels and 1 other. And I think that's the type of thing you need to do, is you've got to force that product out. So yeah, do read those scripts, but please get on a movie and get your hands dirty. Get on somebody else's movie.
Stuart, where can we get into your movies? We don't want to live our lives. We want to go listen to your books and read your material. How can we get in touch with you and get some of that good stuff?
Well, the 6 books are all on Amazon. The 6 cruise ship heist. The cruise ship heist is the first one. That's this guy. That's the first book. Now, as I said to you, I mean, it's dark. It's you've got to sell candy, but in there, make it worth it. Make that journey worth it. So there's a guy in here and he's got a problem. Now, it's no secret he's got PTSD. He has the same problem I did. I met a lot of guys who were suffering and some women who were suffering very, very badly. So in this book, the guy's just been thrown out of the army because he went one step too far and was helping kids in Syria who'd been made orphans. And he was helping them across the border, and that wasn't why he was sent there. And he smuggled one back home. Now, we know this guy has got some dark past, but he goes onto a cruise ship to see this Syrian girl who's just got her first job as a dancer. His dates get changed, so he arrives a bit late, but that doesn't matter. He's there to see her. But what does matter is he soon realizes that someone's clocked this guy who has a CV of some special forces. They've changed his date and they brought him on the ship for this specific reason. And he gets involved with something very, very dark. The third book's about sex trafficking. And I'm not suggesting for 1 minute sex trafficking happens on cruise ships, but working on them, seeing them, I developed this idea on how it would happen. So there's these dark stories within the books, but they move along, I guess you could say, like Tom Hanks movies that you want to watch, but there's a message in there. So all of them are on Amazon. My old movies you can find just by pumping in my name, Stuart St. Paul. And the stuff I was in, you'd never probably see me, which is great, because you shouldn't see people all the time.
No worries.
So if you want to look at the books, I'd start with Cruise Ship Heist, and that's the novel that you guys have picked up for this festival, which is also a screenplay in 6 parts as a TV series pilot and as a movie script. So you have it in 3 versions.
Thank you so much, Stuart. Please hang out for a second if you can. We have some more questions for you to follow up. I want to leave Stuart St. Paul for a while. I've been on a while with him doing cruise ship heists, and I want to move to some feminine energy now. The great, legendary Drew Barrett Hamilton, ladies and gentlemen. Woo! Please hold your applause. Thank you. Go ahead, Drew.
Hey, everybody. I am the executive producer and producer of a film called When Houston Had the Blues. It's actually not a neo noir. It's a documentary, music documentary. But it's very, I feel like our aesthetic, we have a lot of archival footage. We have a lot of beautiful black and white chiaroscuro footage. We do have a vibe of a noir at times. My director, Alan Swire, and I started this film in 2018. It's actually just a love note for Houston for me. I was writing another screenplay about something else entirely, a fictional screenplay about my grandparents' meeting. And I was doing research on it. And I had grown up my entire life in Houston. And I started doing this research and I started realizing how many knowledge gaps I had about Houston. And a lot of that's because, I'm white and I lived in the suburbs of Houston. But I realized there were these clubs and these musicians that changed the music industry that were coming out of my town that I had never heard of. And I began a deep dive into researching. And it became what I thought would be a documentary about one club called the El Dorado Ballroom, because it was the premier like Black music club in the 40s and 50s. And we didn't really know what it was going to be. And we sat down to do our first 3 interviews with some of the amazing musicians who had played back in the day. One of them was Little Richard's saxophone player for many, many years, named Grady Gaines. And he's Houston born and raised. And we sat down with these 3 folks and we realized it's a huge story. And it became a feature-length documentary about the past of Houston music and how much that changed the industry. I mean, blues basically developed in Houston, and Zydeco, the actual Zydeco, wasn't ever called Zydeco until it went to Houston. So there's just some really cool stuff there, some history I hadn't discovered, and felt like it was absolutely necessary to share it. And we're just so excited to be a part of this festival and share our film. And we're actually about to sign our distribution deal. We'll be streaming by next year. And we have another one coming. We're working on our next project. We're about 80% done filming. As hard as this strike has been, I'm a 16-year industry worker. I've been a longtime IATSE member for more than 12 years. And it's been really hard striking. And I've been really grateful that I've been able to do my documentary work. I know we're all trying to keep busy in this time. So we're about 80% done filming our next movie, which is even more close to your wheelhouse, which is an LA music history documentary. And it focuses on how R&B kind of started up in LA. So,
all right. Now, you know, I have to ask you a couple of tough questions here, Drew Barrett, because everybody's going to get it today. You know, I insulted Philip Hardy multiple times here, so I'm going to go and ask you a couple of questions. You're a white woman, yes?
Yes.
Okay, so when Houston had the blues, I was expecting another person to come up and speak that probably didn't look as beautiful as you are, gracious as you are. I was expecting an old guy with one of those harmonicas, and and you answer this as best as you can. Why are you the person to be at the helm of this film? What gives you the right to produce and share this message with the world? Talk to me a little bit about that, Drew.
Of course, it's a good question. And yeah, like I said, I'm from the suburbs in Houston. I felt like I had to put this knowledge out there because I felt like growing up in Houston, I should have been educated about Lightning Hopkins and Big Mama Thornton. And I feel like one of the reasons we're in this racist chasm in America is because there hasn't been an equal education. Education's been edited by the victors. We all know this. And we don't talk enough about Black culture in our history and Latino culture, any culture except white culture. So I felt a responsibility to make sure that other kids growing up in Houston knew this. And the beauty of being a filmmaker, and I really vibed on what Daniel was saying, and I think the beauty of being a filmmaker is we're just here to amplify these stories. It's not my story. I'm a documentary filmmaker. I'm putting someone else's story up there. My face is never up there, except for events like this. I'm promoting the musicians. I'm trying to get them new record deals. I'm trying to get them more money in their pockets because they should have gotten that already. And so my responsibility as a filmmaker isn't to put my face in front, except to promote the film, to get out there. My responsibility is to educate people about these musicians and the legacy they had on rock and roll, on the fact that Big Mama Thornton sang Hound Dog 3 years before Elvis, and she's not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I mean, that's some nonsense. So our film isn't just talking, it's action. We have started a campaign years ago to try and get Big Mama Thornton in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, to try and rectify some of these omissions from history, and just to start that conversation again, because at the end of the day, things are going to get better if we don't really delve into that history and celebrate these amazing talents that were buried because white people did it too. Like, who gives a shit if Elvis sang it, Big Mama sang it better, and we need to honor her as much as we honor him, if not more. I think more. So
there it is, ladies. You heard it from the horse's mouth. Talk about the don't be afraid of the black, like Prithvi said. Exactly. We're going to come. Go ahead.
If you want to contact us, I'm putting our link tree in. It's got our YouTube. We've got the trailer up. We've got a PSA for Big Mama. Like, check out our music. We've got Spotify playlists of our musicians. There's just so much amazing stuff in Houston right now. So check it out, please.
Thank you very much, Drew Barrett. We'll come back to you in a moment if you'd like to stick around. Right now, we're going to move on since this, I see some glitter on the screen and a lady with pink all around her. So the aura is, I'm feeling the aura. So we're going to move over to Kathy Baruch, ladies and gentlemen. Kathy, take it away.
So I believe the film you chose of mine was the Sunday at the Chelsea. And,
yes.
And Sunday at the Chelsea is about, it started literally, the Chelsea Hotel is on West 23rd in New York, and I'm on East 20th. And I love the old hotels. I went to visit California for film festivals, and it was the first time I was in Hollywood. And this was during the pandemic, because I started to make a film about the pandemic in New York. And it was the first time I ever was in Hollywood and I just fell in love with all the hotels and the buildings. And so when I came back one Sunday, I was like, I live in New York. There's hotels here. Well, what about the Chelsea? And I was just compelled to go there and check out what was happening with the Chelsea, the new Chelsea. I have no idea why. I feel like the spirits just took me there. I jumped on my bike and I'm like, I'm staying over. And when I got there, it was very beautiful, but I know it had been changed. And a lot of my friends, I live in New York, but all of my friends were older than me when I moved here, like rock and roll people and artists. So they were in the old Chelsea. So I was kind of hesitant to go to the new Chelsea, like it would be a sellout. But anyway, I went to the new Chelsea. I just said, I'll just go in it and look around and see what happens. And I went in the back room. It was very beautiful. There was a skylight and a guy was sitting there, and I just started to talk to him. And then what I do is I'm always making films all of a sudden. And I make them on my phone. So something captures me and I just start documenting it. And I was filming this guy, and it turns out he was an actor, like a famous actor. And I said, I don't think I'm worthy of saying anything about the Chelsea. It's got such a rich history and all that. And because of him, I did. He said, of course you do. You're going to tell your story or whatever, something. I don't know. He just said something positive, and I just kept going. And so I stayed there only one night. I didn't want to stay a second because I got scared. And I don't know why I did, and I just started the film. If it's like the way I film is from all different sides of a situation. So it's like you're walking down the halls of the Chelsea, but then I don't know. I just started filming it, and then I forgot about it. And then I was in my regular life, and one of my friends was like, can you help me do something? Read something. And I said, sure. And I met her. And then I said, oh, something to Chelsea. And then she started talking about it. Or I interviewed her about something else. And then she talked about when she lived there. And then I met another friend for some other reason. And I was like, yeah, this thing, the Chelsea Hotel. And then she was like, oh, my uncle owned that, And I really believe this movie made itself. I was just in 2 weeks, because I make my films very quickly. It's just like, these people came, they told their story, and that was it. And it's under 10 minutes because that's all I can afford if it's screened in a festival. But it ended up, and I let it tell, because there's another story. I let it reflect me now, what the information coming to me is, not from the past where other people would be like, oh no, it was like this. And I'd been there before and I knew the walls had writing on it and there was a different kind of energy. But I just let it gently like keep tapping on my shoulder. I'm gonna scare myself again. But it's just like amazing how it happened. And with that, it's like you have to see it, but I ran into other people and like different visual images, people who live in New York who have nothing to do with that, but they're New Yorkers and something they created. And it opens with my friend Jessie was playing in the Ritz, and it's just very random opening. But the reason it's that way is that it's an essence of the time, like the people from the Ritz nightclub would go to the Chelsea. And so it's just it's like the past and the present. It's going like this. This is how it goes. And
Kathy, let me save that thought. We don't want to give them too much, Kathy.
I just thought of that. Yeah, sorry. I never talk about my stuff.
So. No worries. We're going to give you all day after this. We're going to have a special Kathy episode because
that's okay.
This is the thing. There's a secret war. I'm going to let you know something. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I'm from Chicago, okay? And there's a little beef that we have with New York that's been going for centuries now. Who has the best pizza? Who has the best hot dogs? We always have been in an eternal war about this deep dish and flatbread pizza situation. And I saw recently there was a little rat taking a slice of pizza down the stairs in New York.
Pizza rat, yeah.
Yes, so we're trying to get that happening in Chicago as well. Let me ask you, what is it about New York that makes it Neo Noir amenable? Why do people, what is it about New York that makes it so great for a Neo Noir type of production or the type of production that you're doing?
Yeah, good question. Thanks for asking. Mm-hmm. New York has an underground. It definitely used to have one. Well, New York has many realities happening at the same time. It has a lot of history. So you can walk down St. Mark's and now it might look a certain way with the stores that are there. But it's like it's buried on many layers of a rock and roll scene, of this scene, of that scene. And definitely more when I first came here, it felt very noir because like Gramercy Park, there were a lot of old buildings and real estate wasn't as popular. So you found a lot of dark secret corners that were creatively displayed, or you're like, what's behind there? Or there would be a secret entrance. But I feel that New York is a place where people hide jewels in the wall, in the sidewalk, in the whatever. And that to me is a noir, right? There's always, that's the last thing I would say. You know what I mean? It's like something's hidden, something magic, something special is hidden in a very, could be right in front of your eyes or right, behind the wall. It's like what's happening behind. And there's just, you could walk down you could stay here for 100 years and never have the same experience twice walking down. And there's so many streets and people and stories and past and present. It's amazing.
So, Kathy, if we want some more,
but the pizza's better here. I've never been to Chicago, but I know it's better because I eat it like every day, almost every day. I can tell you exactly where to go.
Correct.
I don't eat the hot dogs as much, but you would definitely go to, Nathan's or, Nathan's, the hot dog truck, get the cheese fries, but the pizza.
Yes, it is good. If a rat will steal it, it has to be good. Let me ask you, Kathy, where can people reach you for more of this nostalgic New York style cinema?
Yeah, because I made a rock and roll documentary too about the late Johnny Thunders. See, this is his guitar. I took a lot of pictures of rock stars.
Okay.
And this is a letter from him. But I do comedy, and basically I'm making movies and adding comedy to it. But that movie It's like you couldn't walk 2 feet without tripping over a punk rocker, squatting next to his pit bull, fighting over who gets to wear the dog collar. I mean, that was the East Village. Like,
yes,
guys would have tattoos, but it would be like a tattoo of a chip on their shoulder because they were so arrogant.
Wow.
But you could reach me at my name. It's on Instagram, and you can Google me because I'm sure there's like lots of YouTube stuff. And I'm CATHIE109 at Hotmail.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I got into film. I've been shooting images of film, and I knew a lot of rock photographers, whatever. But I realized that it's because I don't have anyone to talk to sometimes. So I just, it's like I'm showing people, look at this. Isn't this cool? It's like I'm having that conversation. Those are my movies. But I'm not saying it. I'm just like, isn't that cool?
Makes sense. Thank you so much, Kathy. Stick around if you can. We're going to move to our next gentleman right here. Oh, this is a tough one. I see 2 strong faces almost coming out of the screen on me. I guess I better go to Max Aaron because his head is the biggest out of all of them. Max Aaron, tell us a little bit about your project.
Sure, yes. So thanks for that. So on film is Stalled, which is a love letter to Hitchcock and films like North by Northwest and Adventure Connection. So it's about a main character. Paul Strachan is he's come to onto the pub for a quick pint, but he's found himself trapped in the bathroom, the toilet, with a dead gangster who's been poisoned. And there are 2 urgent knocks on the door, which prompts a desperate dash to find a way out. The film explores the trauma of being caught up in a wrong place at the wrong time, which is something that I emphasize with Percy. Somebody has got traumas that's very similar, but also it's a bit of a family drama about a very, very dysfunctional crime family. And that comes through especially in the opening scene in the actual pub area. And yeah, so my fascination with Neo Noir came really from watching Drive, Adventure Connection, also gangster films like Snatch. Like it's very, very much a gangster movie at its heart. So and that's something that the writer Jonathan Seath really brought across as a massive fan of the genre himself, really. And yeah, I mean, I think with noir films, I love the chance to rebuild tension and suspense through stories, but also the chance to also explore characters who are very flawed and quite shady, and they're quite relatable, and there's always room for empathy with characters like that. And it really brings the stories as honest life, I think. And yeah, coming next, we have a feature film version of Stalls being written by Jonathan. So that's now being written. And I've also got a whole slate of monster movies like vampires, werewolves. That's coming. I announced one of the films about a month or 2 ago, but there's more coming. I've got a few people on board currently, pieces and so on. So yeah, that's all on the move right now.
Max,
and yeah.
I heard somewhere in there some gangsters in a toilet in a tub together. Did I hear that right?
Yes. So yeah.
Well, I got so many questions, but I'm going to leave that alone right now.
Sure.
Is there something about, is this filmed in New York or Chicago? And if not, what makes you think you have the right to do Neo Noir where you are? Talk to us about where you are and where this is set.
Yeah. So this is quite a British film, a very British gangster movie. So I think in the UK we have a history of gangsters like the Cray twins, for example. And there's quite a fair amount of dodginess in the UK, in clubs and pubs. There's a lot of crime in London in particular. So we tried to really make it about, a crime in the UK, in London, as things like this do happen, and there are gangsters like the Cray twins. There's a rich history with the Cray twins as well. So we wanted to remake it rooted around UK gangsters as heavily as we could.
Thank you very much, Max. How can we reach you for some more of this good UK London crazy neo noir?
Sure. So feel free to check out my website. That's maxairingfilmmaker.com. But also I've got an email address, max at dreamologypictures.com. In fact, I'll put that into the chat as well.
Thank you, Max. Thank you very much.
Yes,
Stick around if you can, Max. We'll have some more questions coming up shortly. But I want to go to this gentleman whose name I want to use to put on my next Cadillac or Maybach that I buy. He also has a nice name that could go for one of my suit names. The great Mr. Pierce Lehane, ladies and gentlemen. Speak to us, Pierce, about your project.
Okay. Hi, Kerry. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. We all can hear you.
You've got the drip there, my friend. Thank you for your time and talent, sir, in gathering us together. So my name is Pierce Lehane. The project is called Punic. I'm the screenwriter. And it's about toxic loyalty. So it is set in Michigan, and it's a story about a young police officer whose father is a retired cop, and his father coerces him into murdering a paroled felon and the complications that ensue thereof. So it's a classic noir conflict between the mission and the code of the conspirators. And it's a classic, as I said, more, forgive me for repeating myself, noir thing of when protecting the organization conflicts with their stated values. So that's what it's about.
Let me ask you, Pierce Lehane, how do you say your last name once or again?
Well, the way you said it.
Okay, we're going to just stick with that, and I'm not going to say it again. That's how I'll fix that. How do you justify, there was an old saying years ago, and it still kind of comes around, gangster rap made me do it, you know. What is it, do you have a responsibility to your films to take the moral high ground? Do you have the responsibility to your films to think, how is this going to affect the kids? Do you have any moral responsibility with filmmaking that you can't cross the line of, or talk to us about that? Or if you have none at all, just speak to us about what obligations you think you have as a responsible filmmaker.
None.
Damn. Wow. Okay. I think we're going to, I don't know where to go after that. That makes pretty much sense. You summed it up, and it's none whatsoever. So you can do whatever you want, and you have no regard for, I don't know if I should even go back over it. Just none whatsoever. You're going to stick with that?
I'm going to stick with that, yeah.
Wow. Wow. Let me ask you this. What responsibility do you have as a filmmaker? Is there any?
The only responsibility you have as a filmmaker is to entertain the audience, period. Now, if you go to extremes, I'll just use, hardcore violence as an example. What's going to happen is you're going to find your audience, right? So I heard somebody mention a classic Neo Noir is the movie Drive, which has, I would call, ultra violence, or there are ultra violent sequences in that. There are people who are not going to be attracted to that, and you are going, again, forgive me for repeating myself, if you include those elements in your films, you will find your audience. In other words, there are people who will shy away from that. However, if you choose and you feel, and I know we're all love bombing Daniel, but he talked about intentionality. And if it is your clear intention to do that because it serves the story, then go and have at it. Because if you're looking to serve the story in that way and you think that that is urgent for the story for you to do that, then do it. But you have no responsibility for anything beyond that because you're a storyteller. Period. End of story. The only responsibility you have is to entertain your audience. And if you fail to do that, whatever your messaging, if you choose the message, it's a waste of fucking time because your audience are bored and they're tuned out. You could be talking about something as urgent as the climate crisis, for example. and people are bored out of their minds with your movie. You've just wasted your time, the time and the talent of the people who've worked with you, and you've wasted the audience's time. So whatever you do, you must entertain first. End of story.
Pierce Lahan, stick around if you can. We have a few more questions after this. Where can we reach you for some more of your good, unflinching, unwavering, not giving a fuck material?
I shall give my not give a fuck email into the chat right now.
Thank you. All right. Now we're going to move on to a gentleman that's going to refute everything we just heard. The legendary, ladies and gentlemen, Chris McKinney, ladies and gentlemen. Take it away, Chris. Tell him how fucked up he was with what that it was he just said. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
I don't know if I have any refutes other than, should I just say, yeah, that's fucked up. No, it was good. Thank you so much for having me, and it was great to hear from everyone. I'm Chris McKinney, and my film is called Gnashing in Gehenna. I am the director, writer, and cinematographer, as well as the editor for the project. It was also shot on 16 millimeter. So it shot on practical film, and that was a really important part of making it for me. And essentially I would say it's a noir that's inspired heavily by classic noir, but it's also Lynchian. It has a lot of twists and turns. Almost, it's been compared to like the structure like Alice in Wonderland, kind of just like our lead detective is going through this story, and the audience is sort of being led with him in his like unknowingness of exactly what's going on. But his name's Mo Truxton. The film stars John Capacci and Lynn Lowry. And basically he is a detective that has to solve a murder in the city of Gehenna. And he is just going through some issues. He's not exactly sure what's going on, but he's having fragmented memory, and things just aren't quite lining up, and people are reacting a little uncannily for him. And he's being visited by this mysterious femme fatale, and basically he's got to solve this mystery murder in order to have a chance at saving his soul.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chris, let me ask you, how many damn neo-noir stories can we tell, man? Have we run out of material to tell neo-noir stories? Is the genre dead? After your film by Chris McKinney, do we need any more neo-noir stories? What's your take on the future of neo-noir, and what would you like to see implemented in it, or is it perfect in its own right as it is? Talk to us a little bit about that.
I mean, I can only give my opinion, obviously, but it was inspiring kind of when there was that little boom of the noir coming back, when like Frank Miller's Sin City was released in like film form, and there was a lot of like films kind of coming around in like the mid 2000s that were sort of like bringing it back a little bit, and it was a really fun exciting thing. I know it died out quickly, kind of in the mainstream at least, but I do think that it's always fun to explore because of you're kind of putting style first, and a lot of the times I think, especially with like contemporary filmmaking, it gets really heavy-handed and expository in the way these visual stories are being conveyed on the screen. But film is a visual medium, and I think the reason it's a little concerning, kind of how like film structure is in the mainstream right now. But that being said, I think it's always going to be a viable style, simply because there is so much style in the neo-noir and noir in general. You're always going to have your gangster films. You're always going to have your highly stylized lighting and techniques that derive from noir filmmaking.
Touche. We're going to ask you a few more questions, Chris McKinney, but before we get away from you right now, tell us how we can get in touch with you for some more of your good quality neo-noir work.
Absolutely. I have a few different websites. I have a website for the film, gnashingandgehenna.com. I have my website. It's chrismckinneyfilm.com. And you can follow me on Instagram at Christopher McKinney _official. And I can link all that in the chat.
All right. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to James Red.
You guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Perfect, perfect. My name is James Red. I'm the writer for the Ultrasonic Adventures, Prime Mover. It's part one of the larger thing, but it's about a bounty hunter and his attorney who are hired to track down a rogue android on the Martian frontier. It deals with drug abuse, renewable energy, nuclear energy, and man's checkered past with it. Trying to think what else there is. Neo Noir. I like it because, as the guy before me mentioned, it's very stylistic. It's very style forward. I also like that you're able to discuss difficult topics in an honest fashion within the genre. It lends itself to that very well. You can reach me at James Red with 2Ds, contact@gmail.com. I think that's all I have.
Let me have something. I have a little extra, James, to add to that. What we talked about the moral obligation. Some people feel there is one for them. Other people feel F it. Other people feel I don't know what other people feel. I only interviewed these 16 people. Let me ask you, what's your when you make a film, or what strikes you? What's the thing that you find in common in all of the good films that you see? What makes a great film to you?
I think that a great film doesn't necessarily get caught up in its higher concept. It doesn't get caught up in the message it's trying to send. Someone earlier mentioned that it's like a game of nuance. You got to have a message, but it's also got to be entertaining. And I think stuff like Blade Runner or Ghost in the Shell or something along those lines, it dances. It does that dance pretty well. It doesn't even. It's pretty balanced between
Thank
being
you very
entertaining.
much. All right, James Red. And you told us how we could reach you. You already said that. Is that correct?
I did, yeah, I did.
Okay.
James Red with 2Ds, contact@gmail.com. Excuse me.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we've heard from everyone, I suspect. If we haven't heard from you, wave your hand so I can see you. We haven't heard from Amina Jindani Moon. I thought you were the first person I would have spoken to. Let's hear from you now, Amina. Speak to us.
Hi, everyone, and congratulations. I've been making notes. Your projects sound really interesting. So I'm here in Malaysia. Like Brett, it's Sunday, and I'm 2 hours behind him. So it was like starting at 5 a.m. for me.
Whoa.
Whoa, yeah, I know. I don't know how I made it, but I'm here. And I'm really excited. Thank you. Thank you for giving us a selection. So I'm going to tell you about my project, which is Derek Kong, Private Detective, and the Crimson Lipstick Files. It's the third story in this kind of like quirky little series written in radio play format. So I'm the writer. You can call me Moon, but officially I'm Amina Jindani. So like if you imagine, like, say Detective Philip Marlowe is murdered in the streets of LA, and then sometime later he's reincarnated on the other side of the world, and he finds his like Chinese, and he grows up and he becomes a private detective, and he's walking around suburban Kuala Lumpur. That could be like what you'd figure out the premise to be for this, because we don't know, but he kind of talks like he's a noir detective. He's totally immersed in the 1940s and 50s style of noir detecting, and he's like, maybe he watches so many noir films that he goes around and he sees his life as like a classic Philip Marlowe. So the genre is noir comedy, or you might say it's comedy drama. And it's, well, I'll give you a very short synopsis of the Crimson Lipstick Files. And then it's about, okay, so Derek Kong is like really jaded because of all these matrimonial cases that come in, and he doesn't want to take one more. he's seen too much, and he just can't stand the fact that there's so many issues going wrong. He wished that couples would just solve their problems themselves. And he's this master of disguise. So he's got all of these like characters in a catalog that he can pull up to figure out his answers to things when he goes on his investigations. So he uses that, and he's so reluctant to take on this last matrimonial case, but his beautiful young assistant Soraya, she insists. She's like, oh please, because like she's new at the job, and she's like, if I never get to try a case like this, it might happen to me one day. I want to be able to discern the good men from the bad, so it never happens to me. And she really wants to help the lady sort out the issue with her philandering husband. So Kong agrees, and he decides to set up a sting by turning his friend's bar into a speakeasy. So he gets Soraya to be the honeybee that delivers the sting to the philandering husband, and then he gets her to play the flawed femme fatale. And he ropes in his friend Kate Chin, who works in the movies, to help with the set, the props, and the costuming. But Kate comes along with another problem for Kong, because at the production house, a priceless Chris, and I'll show you what a Chris looks like. This is what a Chris looks like.
Whoa, okay.
Malay blade. All right, and that has gone missing from the production house. And there's a cryptic message written in lipstick on the mirror. So the idea of the story is, can Kong solve both cases at the same time? Ultimately, the story is about love. It's about fantasy, and it's about illusion. And we also throw in some very sexy food porn.
All right, I love that. I mean, the food porn is my specialty. Let me ask you, what gives you the right to write from a male private eye's detective point of view? Have you ever been a male private eye detective? What is it about it that makes you qualified to tell a story and make it believable?
Well, as I was growing up, I used to Skybus school to watch the old films on the television, and it was always old noir films that I'd watch. I don't advise skiving off school, but I did kind of grow up with it. The thing about a woman writing a male character, I think it takes a while, and I think it takes a certain sense of maturity. So maybe because I've reached a certain point in life where I feel like, oh, okay, I know a lot. I've got a lot of male friends, and I understand them. They talk to me like a sister. They're very candid. I can get in their head. I can see things the way they see things. Maybe also because when you hit a certain age as a woman, you're like pretty neutral. You're not like focused on your sexuality as a woman, so you become more balanced in your male and female aspects. And I would say that's the same for a man. When he reaches a certain age, he can sense his feminine side, and he's not running away from it. So I think that's enough to justify it. But maybe I don't know, I just feel like in my head I think like a man.
Touche. I know the older I get, the more food porn I enjoy. So I know what you're saying in that regard. Let me ask you, where can we get some more of this good neo noir that you're producing, Amina? Where can we reach you?
All right, so up here you can see a link, which is www.moondrama or moondrama.com/about-3. There's a link to, it's just one page of what this Derek Kong audio drama is. You can listen to the first episode, which is here, the zucchini bicycle case. The second episode hasn't been made. It's the case of the fishy ghost. And the third one is selected here, which is still in script format. I've written the screenplay format, the first draft, and my wonderful Gavin Yap, who plays Derek Kong, is also the director. He's a screenwriter, he's an established film director. He is writing the second draft, and I think that would be pretty, then we'll go put a pitch deck together once we've got the budget. I'm writing the novel. We're putting all 3 of these stories together in one book. So that would be like another way that I'm going to infuse the public to look at these stories. I would say like listen to the first episode because it's all audio and we've recorded it. It's got some beautiful soundscape and it's got some jingles in between with some ad breaks, which are funky.
Touche. Thank you so much, Amita. Don't go anywhere. We only got 15 minutes left. In that time, I want to ask, well, first of all, I want to say thank you to the Haunt Ghost Tours in Temecula, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and some other place. I think it's those just 3 places. If there's another place, let me know, the Haunt. I'm apologizing for that, but we thank you so much for your contributions and helping us to put this film festival together. Everybody, please go to a Haunt Ghost Tour. They've done so much for us, and I do the hosting for it for this October. If you want to get this crap scared out of you for walking through the streets of Los Angeles. Or you can just walk through the streets of Los Angeles and get the crap scared out of you for free, if you want to do that. But nonetheless, thank you all for coming here tonight. The way we're going to close this is, well, first we're going to do a quick trivia question, and then I'm going to ask you all to give me, as filmmakers, well, I'll save that for later. Everybody here that's a fan of film noir, raise your hand. Not neo noir, film noir, old film noir movies. Raise your hand. Keep that hand up if you're a film noir enthusiast. Let's see. I guess I'll ask Pierce Lahan. Okay, everybody else put your hand down. Pierce Lahan, you have 10 seconds to give me 4 film noir titles. And the clock starts now.
The Big Sleep, Citizen Kane, Casablanca, The Magnificent Ambersons.
Okay, then you have won, Pierce Lahan, 300. Let's make it 500 cents to Starbucks, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be sending that away. Hopefully they have a Starbucks where you live. If not, just keep it as a keepsake and frame it on the wall there for you. Thanks, Pierce Lahan. Now, this is what I'm going to do, people. In doing this for the last 13 years, I've come across a plethora of sick and twisted individuals, I must say. You writer guys that write neo noir really give me the creeps occasionally, I gotta say. So what we're going to do tonight is each person is going to tell me some words to live by and some words for a neo noir writer to live by, a neo noir storyteller to live by. You got that? You're going to give me some brief, very brief statements on what a good life is, how you live a good life, and how you live a good neo noir storyteller's life. I realize this is putting you on the spot, but we only got 15 minutes, and you don't know how long you have to live anyway. So take this time and think of the best thing you can think. I'm going to start with Philip Hardy. Philip Hardy, take it away. Oh, okay. Stop. Don't take it away just yet. After you say that, say whatever. After that, I'll come by everybody again, and you say whatever the hell you want to say after that and close. Okay, take it away, Philip Hardy.
As far as writing noir, like anything else, I mean, I'm sort of with Pierce. I kind of figure let it fly. Obviously, noir, particularly classic noir, or even neo noir, it's really all about atmosphere. So creating atmosphere. I think noir is a visually important medium, probably more so than maybe a lot of other film mediums. So keeping it visual, the atmosphere, the language, the feel of the characters. I mean, there's desperation should be an element, I would think. So that would be my advice, keeping it brief.
Now let's get to the life aspect. What's a good word of life to live by, Pierce? Philip. Anything you got to say as far as how can you live a good life?
Well, particularly in these times we live, I spend a lot of time on writing and creating content. So, I think I've written 57 screenplays in 12 years. So, Stuart was talking about getting involved in making movies earlier. But write, and if you're doing screenplays or, whatever you're doing, write, and then don't be afraid to get into the pitching side of things too. And nobody's going to know you're alive if you don't get out there and try to pitch your wares.
All right, Pierce, you take it away. Let's hear from you. Thank you, Philip. Thank you. Go ahead.
Sorry, I first of all, I want to say I agree with Philip absolutely. But 3 words: choice in action.
Choice and action. Now that's for being a great neo-noir storyteller or living a great life.
Both. Because fuck what you say, what anybody says. What is your choice in action when it comes to doing? Your audience cannot know who your characters are until they make a choice in action, until they actually do something.
Thank you very much, Pierce. We want to move over to Brett Barton, please. Brett, take it away.
I think they're putting ordinary characters into extraordinary circumstances. I think the everyday man or everyday woman into extraordinary situations and their reactions to that. I think everyone can relate to those type of stories. And I think words to live by, I think just be kind to yourself, because writing and filmmaking is hard and can get you down. So I think being kind to yourself and reaching out to your fellow peers makes it a lot more bearable, I think, the process.
All right. Thank you so much, Brett Barton. Brett Barton is on the... Brandon, let's hear from you, because Brett Barton is saying we should do more food porn. So you go ahead and tell us what you think of this situation.
Did you say me?
Yes, I did.
I don't really have an opinion on it, but my advice in telling like a great neo-noir story is to like take all the usual neo-noir conventions and flip them on themselves to make your neo-noir story like truly stand out from the crowd.
How would we live a great life, Brandon? Do you have any answers for that?
If you want to live a great life as a writer, just write every day and just keep writing neo-noir.
Thank you very much, Brandon. Let's move over to Kathy, our New York affiliate. Tell us what makes a great life, Kathy? And it doesn't have to be the life of a neo-noir storyteller. It could just be what makes a great life in general. And then tell us what makes a great neo-noir storyteller. Take it away, Kathy.
I'd say a great life is always be prepared for the unexpected. And when in doubt, always go out. And the great neo-noir story is I wrote walk through the swinging doors and look behind the bookcase in the library. I don't know.
Whoa. I'm blown away. I'm still recovering from the bubbles, ladies and gentlemen. That's my thing. We're going to move now to Amina. Amina, take it away. You heard the questions. Give us the answers.
I would say if you want to write good film noir or any noir book story, remember that even though the characters may be hard-boiled, they probably feel very deeply. So because they don't react in a dramatic way, perhaps, ensure that that must be because they feel more. And to live life as a great writer, every time you have a situation that you don't like happen to you, take it as a little nugget of gold and put it in your pocket, because that might be good for your writing.
Touche, touche. All right, Max Aaron, the floor is yours.
Sure, but I think I think the key to a good life as a creative, really, I think it just comes from, I'm always writing, watching more films, reading more books, and also learning more about the world around us, because that's where the best stories come from. really, I think.
Thank you very much, Max. I'm going to say mercy, mercy me to that, and we're going to move over here to Mercy and have her speak about it. Take it away, Mercy.
Yeah, sure. So I would say a simple thing that's all about right, and right. Okay. So most of the time, we conceive all the thoughts in the head, but, unless and until we put it in writing, you will definitely, will not be able to get the flow. And the second thing is do not ask others' opinion, at least when you are in the process of writing it. When you do that, it will become it will be their story and it's not going to be yours. So you should have confidence and then just write it. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Mercy. Chris, take it away. Chris McKinney, the floor is yours.
Yeah. As far as living a great life, that is such a question. I would say slowing down and the stillness, focusing on stillness, or maybe not focusing, effortlessness, staying authentic and true to yourself, trusting your instincts, your intuition, and your ideas. And as long as you're staying honest and true to that, I think that will lead to happiness. And as far as just slowing down the stillness of the busyness that we all experience in life now, I think that is a very useful tool. And then as far as, I apologize. What was the other question?
What makes a great storyteller of Neo Noir?
A great storyteller of Neo Noir. I just think, authenticity, having your voice come through the material, regardless of what that may be. But I think that unique voice comes through the writing, and then you can get that through the performances. But ultimately, again, it's actually kind of the principle I said before about life, just staying true to the idea and not deviating, just trusting your instincts on those. And, being kind to yourself and giving your space to allow that creativity to flow.
Thank you, Chris McKinney. Take it away, James Red.
Done muting. I'm 25. I don't really have any advice. I'm still starting out. So I'm more here to learn. I'm more here to listen to all of your advice, which has been great. So yeah, I can't really give any advice. I'm too young.
Thank you so much, James Red. The basic answer was hell if I know. I can support that answer. We're going to move over to Richard Talentino. Take it away, sir.
Hello. Yes. In writing a good neo noir or directing it or editing it, the beginning, middle, and ending should make the audience stamp to their feet, and also take good care of your music, the background music, because the music affects the totality of the neo noir short film. As far as good life, do not have your disability hamper your progress. Everybody's entitled to be successful in life.
Take it away, Daniel. You got 1 minute. Do the best you can. Daniel Lawrence, are you with us? I think he's left for the day. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for arriving here. Thank you for being a part of this LA Neo Noir Film Festival online. We will see soon the great winners, but everyone is a winner in the land of Neo Noir. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Be well.
Thanks. Nice meeting everybody.
Nice meeting everyone.
I can't wait to see your work. I can't wait to see it. This was so fun.